How's it going, everyone? I am Count Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day, and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. So, with the start of the Rising Heroes season, we have ourselves a new $5 paid research ticket in the Poké Shop. I personally think it is a complete ripoff, and is something you should absolutely not purchase. I'm going to be explaining why in this video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alright, let's talk about this. So, when it comes to special research storylines that we can purchase with real world money, Pokemon Go has had a very weird track record. In the beginning, these were actually worth getting, as they would typically give you a bunch of premium items, as well as early access to a super rare or exclusive Pokemon like Mew or Regigigas. They were always seen as completely optional, as the featured Pokemon would be obtainable for free way later down the road. However, as the years progressed, these special research tickets would get more and more egregious and less valuable. It all began with the release of Galarian Mr. Mime. When Niantic first released this Pokemon, it was through an overpriced special research ticket. I'm sure you've heard about the meme, Mr. Crime. Well, this research ticket was where that originated. A vast majority of Pokemon Go players saw that specific special research ticket as a major ripoff and a moment of greed from Niantic. Rather than giving you a special mythical or legendary Pokemon, they were charging you a sizable amount for what was considered a generic Pokemon. This was obviously not the only time they did this. Fast forward to today, and Niantic is once again trying to pull the same shenanigans. Included with the new Rising Heroes season, Niantic added a special timed research ticket in the Poké Shop that costs roughly $5 USD. This ticket, which they are calling Willow's Wardrobe, doesn't include much from a gameplay point of view. When you complete this special research, you will get a few avatar items that will allow your character to resemble Professor Willow, and you will get a Melmetal that knows its signature attack, Double Iron Bash. Without question, this is probably the worst research ticket that they've ever tried to sell us for a variety of different reasons. First off, this research awards you a Pokemon that is not hard to get. Out of all the various mythicals and legendaries that they could have included, they decided to go with Melmetal, a Pokemon that is not rare by any means. You can literally get yourself a Melmetal right now for free. It is the evolved form of Meltan, which you can get en masse by opening up a mystery box. You can unlock a mystery box by sending a Pokemon from Pokemon Go to the app Pokemon Home. It's not difficult to do, and pretty much any player at any level can do it. Even with the signature move, you can still get this attack by using an elite charge TM on your best Melmetal, but it's not a good enough move where it will elevate the Pokemon to the top of the meta in both PvP and PvE. Yeah, this is horribly disappointing that Niantic would try to pull this off. Not only is there no real incentive to complete this research from a gameplay point of view, but it doesn't offer any premium items. You are basically spending $5 for this ticket and not getting $5 worth of stuff in return. At the very least, previous special research tickets would still provide you with some sort of premium items. Thus, even if the Pokemon is not special, you can still somewhat get your money's worth. That's just not the case here. There's only one thing that makes buying this ticket actually worth it in some way, and that's the avatar cosmetic items. I suppose if anyone out there always wanted to give their character the same exact outfit as Professor Willow, then I guess this ticket would be worth it. However, I just don't think avatar items are ever worth real money. Also, this ticket is for a timed research, meaning you will have to complete it within the Rising Heroes season. I mean, I guess that wouldn't matter if a player was actually motivated to get those avatar items. Overall, I think this ticket continues a very bad precedent that Niantic has set for Pokemon Go. They've been pushing the boundaries of what should and shouldn't be allowed in terms of monetization. I believe, without a doubt, that this particular ticket is probably the worst in that regard. Unless you are desperate for a new look for your character, there is no good reason you should buy this ticket. If you want Melmetal, just send a Pokemon to Pokemon Home and open up a mystery box. You will get enough candy to evolve one Meltan into a Melmetal after one mystery box, assuming you have plenty of Pineapple Berries. If I were to make a suggestion to Niantic on how they could have made this ticket worthwhile, I would say they should have made the reward a shiny Melmetal rather than a regular one. I think that by itself would have driven a lot of ticket sales and would have actually been valuable. If they weren't willing to do that, then they should have sold this ticket for $1 USD instead of $5. The fact that a $1 Community Day research ticket can provide so much more value than this $5 ticket, that is completely unacceptable. Ultimately, it's all about value. If Niantic is going to release research tickets like this, then they need to recognize that players will expect to get equal value in return when they purchase them. Fill them up with premium items and rare Pokemon. Respect the wallet of players, and they will be willing to open them up. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to get any better as time goes on. As Niantic continues to monetize this game in horrible ways, they will continue to push further and further to see how far they can get away with. The best thing we can do as players is to speak out with our wallets. If players refuse to buy these sorts of tickets when they get released, then it will discourage Niantic from ever implementing them. Therefore, if you are passionately against these practices, then I highly suggest you refrain from buying any research tickets. It's not like you're missing out anyway, as they've been continuing to reduce the value of these tickets over time. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding this Willow's Wardrobe ticket down below. Are you planning to buy it? Tell me why in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.